November 2nd of 1958, 39-year-old Thomas Pendergast was traveling on a San Diego highway when he came across a young hitchhiker. He decided to offer the young boy a ride, and the 16-year-old hitchhiker would identify himself as Charles Harrison. During the ride, Charles told Thomas that he was homeless. Thomas, feeling sorry for the boy, offered the boy housing at his home until he was able to get a job and properly support himself. Thomas Pendergast was an aircraft mechanic who lived in Cajon, California, along with his beautiful wife, Lois, and their 4 beautiful children, 2-year-old Alan, 4-year-old Diane, 6-year-old Thomas Jr., and 9-year-old David. On December 12th of 1958, after living with the Pendergast family for nearly 6 weeks, Charles grew angry at the couple's 4-year-old daughter Diane because she was throwing a tantrum. He went into her room and threw Diane on the floor, leaving her with a cut on her head. Lois heard the commotion and saw her daughter wounded and took her into the bathroom. She then told 16-year-old Charles to call for a doctor, but instead of using the phone, Charles went into the family's garage. He grabbed a gun, proceeded to come back in the house, and shot Lois in the head. After he killed Lois, he grabbed a knife and he slit the throats of 4-year-old Diane and 2-year-old baby Alan. After a while, he waited for the 2 older children to arrive from school. He then stabbed both children, 6-year-old Thomas Jr. and 9-year-old David, to death before disemboweling them both. Authorities believe that both boys were trying to get away, as one boy's body was found in the garage and another was found in another room. Charles began to pack a luggage with his clothes, a hunting knife, and a blade. Eventually, Thomas Pendergast would arrive home from work that day. He was greeted by 16-year-old Charles, who pointed a gun and demanded for Thomas to take him to downtown San Diego. During the car ride, Thomas managed to grab the gun out of Charles' grip, leaving Charles to jump out of the car and flee as he left his luggage behind. Thomas proceeded to return to his wife and children, unaware of the gruesome scene that he will walk into. After arriving home, Thomas Pendergast will find the bodies of his wife and 4 children. Once authorities arrived at the scene, they compared the crime scene to a slaughterhouse and stated that blood was everywhere. Eventually, detectives would discover that 16-year-old Charles Harrison was actually 16-year-old Carl Alfred Eder. He purchased a fake identification card from Tijuana under the name of Charles Harrison. He ran away from a suburban area in Rochester, New York. A large manhunt was set for 16-year-old Carl Eder. His picture was plastered all over the city. A few days later, after the murders, an off-duty police officer would identify Carl walking on the boardwalk at Mission Beach, and with the help of a lifeguard, they quickly apprehended him. During this time on his run, he was staying in an abandoned ballroom. Eventually, he would admit to the Pendergast murders and be brought to trial. He would receive 2 life sentences for the murder of Lois and all of her children. During his trial, Thomas Pendergast asked Carl Eder, "Why did you do it? They were all I had in this world." But Carl Eder didn't respond and was hauled off in handcuffs. In November of 1974, while serving time and doing yard work at the correctional institution in Tehachapi, Carl wrote a note saying he was done and he's done enough time and he was leaving. Carl walked off after being unsupervised and he escaped, never to be seen or heard from again, except for 2 years later. He was spotted in Napa County using the name John Wehe or Dennis. It is believed that he has ties to motorcycle gangs as well as white supremacist groups. They believe that these groups may have helped him leave the country. Until this day, Carl Eder is still a fugitive. No other sightings of Carl Eder has been reported. Carl Alfred Eder is described as being a white male who was 6'2", weighing 165 to 175 pounds at the time of his escape. Cops say that Eder probably still has several moles on his cheek and his left eye. He has sunken eyes and hollow cheekbones. He may be working as a lab technician, and he's very skilled with knives and woodwork. He will be 81 as of 2023. If you have any information about the whereabouts of Carl Alfred Eder, please contact the El Cajon Police Department at 619-441-5530. Until next case, be kind to each other, pray for one another, love each other, and I wish you all a long and beautiful life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share. Thanks for watching.